Hi everybody, and welcome back to Lost Genre, Am I the A-hole? You know, sometimes parents just wish you would share every single detail of your intimate lives with them. But is that really necessary? A quick side note before we begin, I want to remind you that there is another Lost Genre channel that is only focused on Am I the A-hole? It's called Lost Genre AITA Daily. You'll find the link in the description. Anyways, let's get started with the first story. This one is from user IATA throw 18473828192. My mom, 45 female, came to the US from southern Mexico with my dad, 47 male, when they were teens, and a couple of years after that they had me, 25 male. Because I was born here, I am a citizen, but my parents were still undocumented until they went to DACA and obtained green cards. One of the conditions of it is that you can't be convicted of a crime. My mom has always been a narcissist, making everything about herself. I basically raised myself as she wasn't always there, and my dad worked a ton to provide for us, bless his soul. When I was in high school, I asked my mom to drive me and my girlfriend to senior prom, and she agreed. But she backed out on the day off, causing us to be an hour late. When I got mad, she called me ungrateful and other names, and that I didn't appreciate her. This isn't the only incident, but it's the one I remember most. When I moved away for college, she demanded I call her every day, and when I didn't, she called the cops for a wellness check. After that, I went minimal contact with her. Recently, she called the cops saying that my current girlfriend was abusive. Not true, she never met her. And I got extremely upset and told her not to contact me again. Now to the a-hole part. I came home from work, essential worker, and my mom was sitting on my couch. I demanded to know how she got in, and she said she let herself in with the key under my doormat. I told her to get the F out pretty harshly, and she told me my dad lost his job and they're gonna be homeless soon. I told her that I didn't give an F and to get out. After she left, I noticed my expensive watch was missing. $150. My dad got it for me for my graduation. And when I asked her about it, she said that I owe it to her and that I was her son. I demanded she give it back, and she said she already sold it. Would I be the a-hole if I filed a police report on her for this behavior? There is a very high chance that she would be deported back to Mexico and not have a chance to come back here. Edit. I have informed her that she has 48 hours to get my watch back or I will go to the police and report her. She started crying and told me that she sold it, and I told her that she needs to get it back as soon as possible. She tried to say that their financial state is my fault, but I shut her down and told her to get me the watch. Then I'm going to file a restraining order. She started saying something, but I hung up. My dad later texted me and said that I hurt my mom, and I told him that she brought this upon herself. Edit 2. Many people are suggesting I cut her off. I've done this before, and she found my new phone and address, along with some social media. I don't want to move because I live in a good part of town for a residence price. I also can't get my locks changed per apartment rules, but I'll try to do it anyway. I've also been informed that my dad may have lied about his immigration status as they were too old for DACA and it doesn't give them green cards. Another user pointed this out and I texted my dad to call me when he has a chance so I can tell him. And the community says he's an a-hole. Me personally, I don't know, I kind of feel like everybody sucks here. The mom's a narcissist and she sucks. I mean, for this guy to actually think about doing something that could get his mom permanently deported, she must have put him through hell. But if he does get her deported, it's really likely that his dad is gonna get deported with her as well. So yeah, that kind of makes me say everybody sucks here. But that's just my opinion. So now, let's move on to the update. Firstly, I didn't call the police or request money for the watch, but I did tell my mom and dad that if they contacted me again, I would report them to the authorities. They tried guilt-tripping me, but I hung up and blocked them. Also, I found out that my dad had been lying to me about their legal status, and they were still undocumented. I got mad that he had lied to me, and that was one of the reasons I cut contact with him and my mom. Also, to the multiple people who DM'd me saying that my parents weren't bad, the prom wasn't the worst part of my childhood, just the one that I remembered the most. I learned how to make simple meals at age 8 as my mom would refuse to make me food. Also, when I was younger and we had no food, she would get mad at me when I said I was hungry. Also, she would buy expensive clothes and makeup while I was hungry. When I went to friends' houses and didn't answer my phone, she grounded me for weeks and made everything about her, even if it had nothing to do with her. Some people told me to check if anything else was missing from my apartment, and my key was missing. To the people who told me to change the locks, thank you so much. I changed the locks but had to get landlord's approval and gave my neighbor, who I'm friends with, a key instead of putting one under the mat. About 2 weeks ago, my neighbor told me that she had seen someone trying to enter my apartment, but the key didn't work. I asked for a description of them, and guess who it was? I unblocked my dad and told him that I had filed a restraining order against my mother and she had come to my apartment. I didn't actually file a restraining order, but I haven't seen or heard from them since. Well, there you go. He ended up not behaving like an a-hole, which is good. I mean, if he really doesn't want his parents to be part of his life because they suck, like he's saying, then yeah, just cut them out. You don't need to put him in trouble, right? But what do you guys think? Alright, now let's move on to the next post. This one is from user Sean B. Lultz. Backstory. My wife, 30, and I, 30 male, have been together for almost 12 years and married for almost 8. My wife has always wanted kids, but only within the last few years, around 3 years, have I felt I would be ready for parenthood. Our parents would always ask about kids and we would always give a vague response like, we were ready now, so hopefully it'll be soon. The problem for us has been that my wife had a condition called vaginismus. For those who don't know what that is, it causes the vaginal muscles to be very tight and it makes passionate time painful or even impossible. We struggled for years not even knowing this condition existed, and last year my wife finally started physical therapy. After starting physical therapy, my wife told her mom about our situation because she felt like she needed someone to talk to other than me, which I was completely okay with. The only other people who know about our situation are a couple of her close friends and a couple of my close friends. Over the last few years, when we've said we're ready for a kid, my mom would always make the most comments about kids, including talking about making sure we were prepared in regards to nutrition, prenatal vitamins, etc., and got us a couple of books in the same vein as What to Expect When You're Expecting. My wife at one point had suggested that we tell my mom about our situation because she felt that my mom was becoming worried, thinking that we had been trying to get pregnant for a couple of years. I'm not nearly as close to my mom as my wife is with hers, so it felt weird to me to share such an intimate detail with her. The problem? Well, we recently announced to our parents over Zoom due to lockdown that we were pregnant, and of course everyone was thrilled. My mother-in-law accidentally slipped up and said something about being proud of us for overcoming our obstacle. She knew my mom didn't know, but I don't blame her for the slip-up. It's easy to say something without thinking when you're excited. Naturally, my mom wanted to know what she was referring to, and so we had to tell her. She blew up at us saying that she had been so worried for us and how could we not tell her? On one hand, I get where she's coming from, that she was concerned for us, but at no point did we explicitly tell anyone that we were actively trying to get pregnant. And in my opinion, it's an incredibly intimate detail and no one is entitled to that information. I imagine part of her reaction was also due to us telling my mother-in-law, but not her. I haven't been able to talk to her since this happened though. My friends and her friends are a bit split on the subject and I wanted to get some outside perspective. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? Well, the community deemed them not an a-hole and I totally agree with that. You're not expected to share everything with your parents, especially intimate details like this. Unless, of course, you have incredible confidence like OP's wife. But that's just my opinion. So now we move on to the update. My wife and I decided we would give my mom a couple of days to cool down before we reached out to her again. But she actually reached out to us first asking to talk. She started off immediately apologizing for how she reacted on the last call. She said that she thought we had been trying to have a kid for a few years and had been really concerned, especially since we didn't seem to be concerned at all. She had me in her mid-30s and regretted having kids so late, so she was worried we were going to wait too long and discover some infertility issue. She also said that since I was her only child, my wife was like the daughter she never had. My wife had even let her help plan the wedding. So when she heard that she had been left out, it made her realize that she wasn't as close to my wife as she thought, and the combination of emotions cued her over-the-top reaction. After having some time to think about it and talk about it with my dad, she realized how much she messed up. She really was truly sorry for how she acted and ruining what had been such a special moment. This wasn't one of those, "I'm sorry you were offended" type apologies. She didn't try to pass off her reasons as excuses, but just for us to understand the emotions that were at play for her. Overall, we had a really good conversation, and we apologized as well for leading her on and not directly telling her that we weren't actively trying to have a kid for years because we were embarrassed of our situation. There were many tears shed, both happy and sad, but I'm happy to say that everything is back to normal. I always think to myself how many situations on this sub wouldn't even be issues if people just communicated better, and I guess I can now add myself to that list, haha. And that's it. No commentary needed here because the situation sorted itself out pretty well. So now, let's move on to the final story. This one is from user Clothes in Drawers. So, I've always been kind of a neat freak mom the entire time my kids have been alive. I always expect their rooms to be clean, and I check their drawers, closets, storage bins to make sure they don't just shove stuff in there to make the room appear clean. The kids, 16, 13, 9, and 6, are all responsible for putting away their laundry, and my oldest two are responsible for folding their own clothes. Which bothers me because my 13-year-old folds his clothes in a way that bothers me. He rolls them up instead of properly folding them. Ever since the kids have been home and have more free time, I am more strict about the way they put away their clothes. I expect their clothes to be folded a certain way and organized in a certain way in their drawers. I read on a mommy blogger a few years ago that when her kids' drawers weren't organized, she would make a mess for them to organize the right way. I considered it for a few years, but now that the kids are old enough, I think it's the way to go for us. I haven't had to do this until yesterday. I walked into my 16-year-old's room while she was FaceTiming her boyfriend and saw her basket of laundry that needed to be folded, and out of curiosity opened her drawers and saw that she has shoved her clothes in there. I started making a mess and she screamed, "Mom, why?" And I told her she knew why. After that, I walked out of her room. She explained to her boyfriend what I did and he says, "Your mom's effing crazy, bro." And I peek my head into her room, give her a look, and she ends the call with him and breaks down crying. I told my husband what happened. He told me, "I knew you said you were gonna do that, but I didn't know you would actually follow through." This morning, I woke up to a note on my daughter's door saying, "Until mom can get mental help, I'm staying with Aunt," my sister's name. I texted her, no response. I tried contacting my sister, who said she has no plans to return until I get mental help and stop being such a controlling bee. My husband, sister, and mom are all against me in this, which hurts. I don't think it harmed my daughter. It benefits her and helps her stay organized. Am I the a-hole for throwing my kids' clothes onto the floor when they don't fold them neatly? And the community says, you're the a-hole. I think the lesson that OP wants to teach is a good one. Be organized, take care of your things, have a clean space to live in. But the way she did it was not good at all. But again, that's just my opinion and there's an update, so let's continue with that. Almost 2 months ago, I made a post on here about me throwing my daughter's clothes onto the floor when they weren't folded neatly. Well, that post really blew up. People on Twitter also chimed in. Well, the night I made the post, I was still in serious denial. I replied to some comments and my denial was perfectly clear for everyone to see. The day after I read some more comments and messages I received from everyone, I resorted to the guest room and cried for hours. I read some people tell me that their moms were similar to me and they no longer have relationships with them. That was truly my worst fear. I seriously love my kids more than anything on this planet, even if my actions don't always show it. I booked a virtual appointment with a psychologist who diagnosed me with OCD and let me know she would help me. I have since had about 8 sessions with her and she has been a big help. Of course, I still have a long way to go, but I have been noticing some improvements already. As for my daughter, she stayed at my sister's house and came home a few days later after I told her that there would be major improvements made in my behavior. I sat all the kids down and told them that I have the resources to not be such an overbearing a-hole to them anymore. One thing I do want to address is the fact that I was usually controlling with my kids, but the incident I wrote about was the one that sent both me and my daughter over the edge. Me and her are on much better terms. I want to thank Reddit for waking me the hell up to become a better mom and wife. I also want to apologize to anyone who I brought back bad memories to. I want to have relationships with my children until we all grow old, and I know so many of you guys don't have that, which breaks my heart. But also, hearing your stories gave me a big change of heart and are helping me fix my relationships and become a better person. Well, that's great for you, OP. Congratulations on these first steps, and I hope you keep getting better. And that's it. No more commentary needed because OP has this under control. And so we've reached the end of the video. If you liked it, go ahead and click like. If you still haven't joined the community, go ahead and subscribe. And like I said in the beginning, don't forget to check out my other channel, Lost Genre AITA Daily. You'll find the link in the description. And finally, don't forget about the Lost Genre subreddit, and that's enough. So, having said all that, I will see you guys on the next video.